Smith from Absolute EMC, and today we're going to be demoing the HILO Test Automotive Transient Generator System. The system will be available for rent from ATEC and for purchase through Absolute EMC.
Well, thank you, Gabe. So HILO Test is a German manufacturer. They've been in business for over 30 years. They're known for having a very high quality build and construction of their generators. Today we're going to go over the automotive system. The unit has a very easy to use color touch panel display. We're going to go over how the unit gets connected, the display is operated, and we're also going to go over the software and how easy it is to use with the user library. So here we have the CAR SYS 14. This system is the Micropulse EFT and the coupling network for doing ISO 7632 and 32-2 and -3. We have the on-off switch, which is the keys like starting your car. We have the in trigger and out trigger, so you can trigger pulses externally to match up with your timing, or you can trigger out and trigger a pulse with a scope or something else. Down here we have our coupling network that can be connected to your test setup. Grounding here, this is your DC output, your pulse output onto DC, and this is your clamp output for coupling EFT and your micropulses. And over here we have a nice feature for doing real-time measurements of pulses and DC pulses. It's a 100-to-1 output divider, so you can see on a scope real-time all the testing you're doing, and it's a nice feature that's not available on a lot of competitors. The CDN also is a 50 amp coupling network. There are other models available with 100 and 200 amp as well. So here we have our PG2804. This is our load dump generator. The load dump generator is coupled through the coupling network of the CAR SYS 14, or the load dump generator can also be used on its own through a external coupling box. The coupling box can come in a 50 amp or 100 amp versions. The front panel of the PG2804 is similar to the front panel of the CAR SYS 14. On-off switch with a key and a trigger in and out on the front panel. So we're going to go through the connections on the back panel. We'll start with the CAR SYS 14. Here is where your battery simulator would connect to, or your battery, your automotive battery connection. Your grounding connecting to other generators. This is your load dump inputs. This is your sense lines for your battery simulator. Many battery simulators have a sense line output, so they can make the voltage correct at the source. So the sense lines connect here. And over here we have more of our communication control and safety features. There's safety interlock. So here's a dummy connection here. You can also connect a switch we offer. Here is a warning light connection. This is a remote control for Ethernet, and of course your power input. And up here on the load dump generator, that's your EUT output to couple down to your CAR SYS 14, your ground connection, your safety interlock, your lighting, warning lighting output, your remote control, and your AC input. And up here we have the ability to connect external diodes for clamping your pulses to exotic clamping levels. There are clamping levels built into the generator as well, But if you want to do some things else that the standards might call out, you can connect them here. And we can also do external resistance. Again, there is a lot of external resistance already built into the generator to select from. But here you can do, again, exotic, different choices for your resistance. Alright, so we're going to go to the operation of the CAR SYS 14. And here's the opening screen. Here you can turn your battery voltage on and off. You see the red light come on and off. And you can select your tests. You also have an information button. You can see the manufacturer's contact information. Setup. So you have some options here for how the front panel works. User setup is the ability to put in your own information for reporting, which reporting can be done inside the generator and come out on the USB stick. You can change the clock and time, and your network settings for connecting to your Ethernet. So we'll go to ISO 7637 testing, and here you have your pulse 1 is a negative pulse. You have ability to do positive and negative. Pulse 2A is positive pulse, and pulse 3A, 3B for EFT. We'll start on the right with pulse 3A, 3B. You have a test procedure, which you can pull up tests that you saved, or manual tests. So manual tests come in here. The DC automatically turns on before we start. And you have the ability to come in here and make some changes to match the standard, or go ahead and just start running the test. And so that's activate your mains. And as you're running a test, you also have the ability to do live control. You can come in here and change your voltage, real time, duration of your pulse packets, polarity, your periods, and your frequency. So it's very useful for engineering purposes to find out where your failure locations are. It's kind of a nice engineering feature. And then we can come in here, we can display our results, and here it shows what we were doing, test time and everything, and we can save that to a USB stick. We also have the ability in the EFT to do variable bursts, and this is a requirement in some standards like Nissan, where you have a different burst packet changing over time. And then you click on test procedures, and this will be all the tests that you have saved. Right now we don't have anything saved, but you can create your own and pull them in here. Pulse 1, again, you have manual test and test procedure. And then here you have the ability to come in here and change how many pulses you want, your voltage level, polarity, plus or minus, repetition, battery on-off time. So negative pulse, the battery is shut off during the pulse time, so that the pulse does not go into the battery but goes into the device under test. Your pulse rise time, you have different choices for your rise time, and your pulse duration, and different choices for your pulse duration, and your source impedance. And your output can be selected from EUT or the clamp output. Display test results. So these are all the pulses, and it's counting each one and showing that. And you can now put that to a USB stick. And that output will also contain all the information you put into the user info. And then pulse 2A, basically the same setup. It's positive pulse. And here you can do the duration, or number of pulses, the voltage, polarity, negative or positive, repetition time, source impedances, same selection as before, EET, output or clamp, all the similar as all the other windows. So very easy to use, very responsive touch panel. We come back to the opening screen. So here we can click on ISO 1670503, and this will go into the low dump testing. If we click on that, it switches in the low dump, and then we would go and start operating the low dump from the front panel. So the low dump generator is pretty much runs the same as the CAR SYS 14. And here we can look at the info of the manufacturer, do setup, some setups for the generator, user information for reporting, if you're reporting just the low dump information, change your clock, network setup, and you have the choice between manual test and test procedure just as before. You have the ability to change the number of pulses, what your voltage is, duration, repetition time, source impedance. You have a selection of different source impedances internal. You also can use external, which will go through the back connection of the generator. And if you want clamping for pulse 5B. And these are the preset clamping inside the generator, or you can use external. And external, the networks can be any level of setup. You start, charges up, then it pulses, and it waits for 20 seconds. Do the next pulse. Charges back up and triggers. We can pause the test, continue, and stop. That's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward and easy to use. All right, we're going to start and look at the car remote software from HILO. Here's the software. Very straightforward, easy to use. On the right side here, we have the test library. On the left side, we have test setups we've run already. We can open them up and see those. New projects, open projects. You can lock the project down. Settings, so you can connect your generators, configure the generators, and bring that up and show the IP addresses, the car TE14, which is the emission system, the low dump generator, it's arbitrary function generator, PFS is a power fail generator. Except your battery pulses, you have external battery source or doing it manually. You can control external scopes to do your verification and measurements. Drivers for tech and rodent shorts are built in. Show the status. You have your test equipment listed that you use all the time, and general information about your registration of the software. The settings, so you can load a configuration, save the configuration, Set up monitoring. So we don't have a scope in here, it won't come up. Set up. Analyze, create waveforms. This would be the arbitrary waveform generator, which is more than the system we have here, but just an extra unit. And we can also do current and voltage monitoring through the power source. To run the test, we can report. And then on the right side here, go back to the standards menu, and here you can open up, say, the ISO 7637-2. Standard, 12 volt. You have the emissions, pulse 1, pulse 2, A, 2B, 3. So with the system we have, we can do pulse 1, pulse 2A, and pulse 3. We can pick that up. You can see down here, let's make it a little bigger. You have all the parameters, so you can change your parameters here. Do a quick start, just run that pulse, or you can add that to a sequence editor test. So we have sequences already put in for our project, so we can insert another one if we want. We can turn a sequence on and off as we need for the testing, and we can run that pretty easily, straightforward. And if we had a battery similar to, we could just go and set up a battery test. You can pull up a standard test, or you can run your own unique test. So you can build a test from scratch. So you start a test at, say, 12 volts for 1 second. Insert that, do a sine wave of 1 volt amplitude, phase angle 0, cycle, just do that 1 cycle. We can do a ramping sine wave, again 1 volt, 12 volt offset, hertz, 1 hertz up to 100 hertz, starting at phase angle 0. Insert that, and you can see it real time what that is. We want to do a ramp down, so we can go from 12.6 volts, where sine wave ended up, to say 5 volts. We can insert that, and now we can see this come to shape. And we want to go back to that segment. We can highlight it. We can move that segment around the different areas of the pulse, or delete it and add a different pulse. So it's a very easy editor to create and start your own tests. But you also have the ability just to come in here and run tests from the standards library. You have over voltage tests. Compose alternating voltage. So it's a pretty extensive library, which is growing all the time. Software is very easy to use, and it extends what the front panel of the display can do to add much more in-depth testing and reporting.